we got another juicy part of this show that I was really happy came together so quickly. Actually came. I'll say it right away. This came from some praise that we gave for the Maulers, just for free agent signings. So, kind of out of the blue type of deal. But I'm happy we were able to put this together and make an excellent piece. We're going to let you guys listen in to a one-on-one conversation I was able to have with defensive coordinator Jarren Horton of the Pittsburgh Maulers. You might know from our last episode, the Maulers, they're pretty busy right now in free agency. Lonnie Young, he stepped in, and things have been really cooking up over there at the Maulers camp with Wilson and Horton and company running the show. And Horton's got a few thoughts on that, along with some of those rule discussions we just had too, and what lies ahead for the league itself. Take a listen right now. Welcome on in, everybody, into another edition of the USFL podcast, a new edition of our interview series. It's been a little bit since we have had an interview one-on-one with someone that is involved with the league, player, coach, otherwise. This time around, we are going to be bringing in a defensive coordinator who, I think really has shedded some of the potential light on avenues for coaching movement in the alt football space, and has also made his presence known on the Pittsburgh Maulers. It is defensive coordinator Jarren Horton joining us today on this one-on-one series for the USFL podcast. Jarren, hey, welcome on in. Hope the off season's going well. You got a little bit of time to rest and relax, but looks like your team's making some moves.
Yeah, we've been pretty active in free agency, as I think you guys can see if you've been following. And it kind of just, we want to create the best team that we possibly can, create a competitive environment when it comes to starting camp in February or March, I believe. When camp starts, we want to have the best roster that we possibly can, have as much depth as we can at every position. So there's competition and guys can really earn their spot on the field. And I mean, just because you were a starter last year doesn't mean you're going to be a starter this year. Just because you were on the team last year doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make the team this year. I think it's professional football, and that's what we're trying to create the environment of, is just be a pro, and your spot's going to be up for grabs because someone else might take it. They're hungry too. So that's what we're trying to make right now.
Is the name of the game for sure. And in the football space, as we all know, very aggressive and very much got to take your shots when you can. For you guys, for the Maulers, you're going to be given plenty of shots so far, it seems. GM, player personnel director Lonnie Young, I mean, it seems like he's been the talk of the town in a lot of the USFL circles. The signing numbers have been ridiculous. If anything, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, it feels like you guys are just saying, you know what, we're going to we saw what happened last season. We just want to get, and you stressed it, the best core group to kind of right the ship and kind of, I guess, maybe wash the bad taste out of your mouth from 2022.
Yeah. So I've been working really closely with Lonnie, been working with Kirby, been working with JT, Coach Tomlinson, our offensive coordinator. We've kind of been getting together on defensive signings, offensive signings, trying to figure out what we see as a team. I'm talking with JT and Lonnie about what type of offensive players give me trouble. What type of guys do I not like to see, so we can get those guys on our team to kind of make our team better. And Lonnie has stepped in because Chris Watt, he took a job with the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is awesome. Like, he's a great dude, and happy for him to take that next step. But Lonnie has come in, and I think the first day that he took the job, I had a conversation with him on the phone for about an hour, and he was with the Baltimore Ravens for a long time, and I guess I grew up in the Pittsburgh Steelers kind of franchise, the tree, the whatever you want to call it. Coach LeBeau is a mentor for me, Coach Tomlin as well. So the Ravens and the Steelers, although bitter rivals, there's a really high degree of respect between those two franchises. And if you look at them through the years, they build the same way, on defense especially. 3-4 structure, They want to get athletic DBs that can cover, safeties. They had Ed Reed. Pittsburgh had Troy Polamalu. I know different type of guys, but both Hall of Fame safeties. Two of the probably 1 and 2 of all time safeties. And with that being said, me and Lonnie have a very similar idea, I guess, of what we want this defense to look like and what we're looking for, because we're kind of looking for the same type of players that the Steelers and the Ravens and those type of 3-4 schemes are looking for. We want corners that can play man coverage and that you can kind of just put on an island out there. I mean, Ike Taylor was a guy for the Steelers for a long time, and I mean now you see in Baltimore they got Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters, guys that can play man coverage. At safety, you want smart guys that can be the quarterback of the defense, for lack of a better term. I mean, we were blessed with the Maulers to have 2 of those guys last year with Bryce Torndon and Trey Tarpley. Both those guys are extremely, extremely bright football players, and picked it up very quick. But yeah, I mean, we're signing a lot of guys. Some trying to replace guys that may not be coming back, whether that's they're not coming back, not signing for year 2 for the USFL, or on defense, we were blessed to have a lot of guys go to the NFL.
That's true too.
Which, yeah, is a kind of issue, but is great because that's exactly what you want. This is a developmental league. We want these guys to go to the NFL and take the next step. Right now, we got Carlo is with the Chargers right now, and Jeremiah is with the Patriots right now, and it's great. I mean, like I'm so happy that this league was able to give these guys the avenue to get film to now make it to the league. Because for those 2 guys in particular, Carlo, he played 3 technique at Michigan. He was 285, 290 probably when he was in college. And he transitioned to outside linebacker for us. And he had no film at that. So maybe he would have got a shot in the NFL without the USFL, but probably not because no one's ever seen him play outside linebacker until this spring. So for a guy like that, I think that almost is what epitomizes the league. And Jeremiah came from a small school, and you could kind of tell his growth throughout the league or throughout the season from camp to week 1 to the end of the season. Is like, at first he was kind of like, okay, do I belong here? Do I belong at this level? And then you kind of saw him grow, and probably week 2, week 3, week 4, he was like, not only do I belong, I'm one of the best players, and I can now step up to the next level. And I think those 2 guys are guys that kind of epitomize what this league wants to be as a developmental league, to get these guys opportunities to compete at a professional level, at a level that it's not the NFL talent wise, but there are NFL players on our rosters in the USFL. There are guys that can take that next step.
Right. Just to highlight some of those people, we diamonds, gems in the rough, some people that maybe needed a little extra time or film or coaching. And I mean, Carlo Kemp, I think I love that you brought that example up, because I mean, we talk about the shots, we talk about, take your opportunities where you can, because what do you got to lose? Sometimes you never know. And I think that just epitomizes just one of the greatest benefits of an alternative spring or a spring league is saying, okay, this is I have that step here that I can still show myself. I can still play. I can still enjoy the game I love, and I can take those shots if I need to, on the flip side of that coin. Really great story. And I imagine for you probably have to feel some pride. I know it's a full defensive staff you run, but you probably have to feel some pride knowing that you had so many of your guys, like you were saying, being able to say, hey, I got these guys. I was able to run a really good unit, and seeing that I obviously knew there was talent here. They went up there. Yeah, they might not be back, but that's got to be a little bit of a token I can take with me, helping a young man get their dream jump started again.
Yeah, of course. And like I said, like you said, we have a full defensive staff. Coach Hull with the linebackers. Coach Nudo was working with the DBs. He's now at East Carolina. And Coach Courtwright with the D line. All those guys are awesome, and they work their butts off to help the players achieve what they want to. But yeah, I'm certainly proud of being able to allow those guys the avenue to get to what they want to do. As far as last year in January, February, Coach Kerb gave me full control of who we were drafting on defense. So
Nice.
Talking with the defensive staff, we put together a list of guys that we liked, and a lot of those guys we were able to get. We actually early in the season encountered a lot of injuries on defense. Like we thought we were really, really deep at nickel, but after week 2, I think we lost our top 3 nickels. So that was something that we had to kind of adjust and adapt to, which we were able to do pretty well. But it kind of just goes back to I think we did a pretty good job of scouting the guys that were in the draft pool to see who fits our scheme, because that's probably the biggest part. If you have a bunch of guys that are talented but they don't fit your scheme, then you can either bang your head against the wall running a scheme that doesn't fit your players, or you can adapt the scheme to what your players are. We were blessed to have the ability to draft who we wanted to, of guys that would fit into our scheme, because, I mean, we're running an NFL defense as far as nomenclature, as far as how things are working, coverage elements, stunts, blitz patterns. It's an NFL defense. A little adaptation from the college game, because things are starting to kind of spread out a little bit more and become more college-esque, if you want to say that, like spread, more read elements in offense. So you have to adapt a little bit to that. It's not as much 21 personnel power. You're not getting that. You're getting more 11, 10, 12 personnel. Still some of the same concepts, but it's just a little different. So we have to adapt on defense as well.
I imagine spacing is probably a nightmare for you with modern offenses becoming just more about, all right, get your guys one-on-one, get your guys with that first or second cut if you can, get away from the gang tackles if possible, or any possibilities of getting arms. That probably, I mean, what do you game plan? I mean, you're talking about adapting to a modern defense, and you play the position. Your family is well acquainted to defensive backs and secondary, of course, your father being Roy Horton, that is. So, I mean, what's an adaptation that you look at for more of a wide out concept offenses are going towards?
Yeah. So, you can do a little bit as far as coverage scheme. A big thing that I learned in the college game, and really with Coach Mason, Coach Derek Mason at Vanderbilt when I was with him, is like Palms defense, kind of read 2, I guess. But most notably it's called Palms, where the corner's reading 1 and 2. If 2 is going out, anywhere under 7, 8, sometimes people say 5, but 7 yards, give or take. If number 2 goes out, the corner is going to jump him and the safety is going to get over the top of 1. Okay. That allows the nickel to kind of play in between the receiver number 2 and the end man on the line of scrimmage. Allow him to be that extra fitter for the run game, and allows you to still have zone type coverage outside. That's what a lot of colleges run now. It's not as easy in the NFL. It's a little bit more difficult just because the quarterback talent is that much higher, where it's hard to leave a slot receiver uncovered, like to allow him to have a free release, because you get Patrick Mahomes, you get Josh Allen, you get those guys, they're gonna torch you. And you got Devontae Adams in the slot and all these guys that are extremely talented. So it's a little bit tougher in the NFL game. In the college game and in the USFL, where you don't have Josh Allen, you don't have Patrick Mahomes, you don't have those elite quarterbacks, you can get away with a little bit more of that. But one thing that I've learned like you said, my father, Ray Horton,
Right.
coached for the Steelers for a long time, um, coordinator in the NFL and whatnot. But growing up around football and around really the Steelers when they were mid 2000s, winning Super Bowls and the number one defense for 3 years in a row, stuff like that, of just sitting at practice. And I was a ball boy when I was growing up, so I was always around and just seeing guys like Ike Taylor, Troy Polamalu, Deshae Townsend, guys that are professional and really, really good. One thing that Ike Taylor said that has stuck with me is someone asked him what receivers don't like, and he was like, well, they like space. They want to be in space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up in their face and press and not allow them to have space. So that's something I 1000% believe in. I like press, I like tight coverage, and I like man. If you can play corner and you can play man coverage and play press man, then I can let you go do your thing over there and we can do whatever we want with the rest of the defense. I think that is the biggest thing that you can do as a corner is the ability to play tight man coverage. I see a lot of guys now in high school and college playing like off man with their butt to the sideline and shuffling. I don't like that personally. Can it work? Yeah, it can, but that's not my style of defense. I want tight coverage and I want man. I want you up in the receiver's face because they want space. I want to take away what they want. And especially when they're spreading everything out and they want to get the ball in space, I want to make the quarterback throw into a tight window. That's really what I see as on defense of trying to take away the spread game.
Right. Well, it's funny. I'm kind of on in my own personal beliefs on how I look at defense. I'm kind of with you. Very much. I'm a fan more of the jam at the line type of player rather than playing off on a cushion. I understand the cushion is, you're just in case preparing. If you have him down below, you can have that leverage if maybe he cuts in, or maybe you're ready for keeping up with speed if it's a seam route or something like that. But I think that not only if you're a talented man defensive back, I think that exemplifies kind of, especially at this level, your readiness maybe for another level of football. But I think it also exemplifies that you're going to have probably a better game. I think, to me, you get in your receiver's head when you jam him at the line. At least that's how I've always read it. It's the best way, I think, to throw someone off their game is, because they don't want it, like you're saying, they don't want to do the hand fights. They want to zoom by, get the jet by you. Every receiver interview I've ever had, that's all they say. It's like,
they want the free release. They want space. That's where they thrive. These receivers are so good. And the rules now, you can't touch receivers. Sometimes you can't even touch them at the line because they'll call a penalty. They're built for offense. They're built for points. So if you can take that space away, it'll allow you to play good defense, good corner play. And two of our corners got a chance to be on NFL camps. And I think that kind of goes back as we play an NFL style of defense, and we play tight coverage, and that's what scouts look for.
Yeah, you talk about NFL camps. I say Mike Vrabel gave a few of your guys some good looks too. It was I think some of us were surprised, like, oh, now they got to, not only you're competing for a camp spot now, but you're looking at the Maulers secondary. Looks like some good evals. So and I'm not shocked as well. The signings you guys have had, I've seen, again, knowing your family history and your specialty coming up into the spot you're in now, all the CB signings, secondary signings. I think many of us went, yep, that tracks. And then of course there's still guys like you're talking returning possibly. I know Boogie Roberts, it's not official, but he's already hinted he's coming back. In a very nice social media type of way.
He sent me that last week because I've been talking to him about coming back and what his plans are, and I wanted him to make sure that it was the right move for him to come back, and me and Boog have a good relationship, and he sent me that, and I was like, that's awesome, that's gonna be great. So he put that out, and I think people are excited about that because I think the league really likes Boogie, and the fans love him. And you can see with the TV show that they did, he was on it every week, and he was one of the biggest stars of it.
Yeah.
And I know that now Boog is doing some stuff in the TV and world like that. So I think for him coming back, that's great. He's a great football player. He's a awesome personality, awesome dude. So it's great to have him coming back.
Yeah, we can't wait to see him, and hopefully a little bit healthier season. He gets a full season under his belt too, because I feel like that hindered some of his potential to get maybe more looks. I really hope he gets that shot and he gets a more full year of film under his belt so he can continue that dream, you know?
Yeah.
As well, I mean, he's got the education as we saw in the show. So that's
great for sure
to have that too, you know, getting that degree during the game or during the game season as well. So that's nice.
It's impressive.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. You know, I can't imagine even going to school back right now when I got a 14-hour week job.
No question.
I got to ask you, your coaching track has been, I think it's almost kind of fitting how you have gone. You were already in the AAF at one point, you know. I know you have, of course, a background in, you know, with your family being a football family. You know, you've had spurts where you're with Pittsburgh and also with Cleveland for a little bit. You've been a defensive coordinator, but I mean, the Alliance, I feel, you know, it kind of exemplified for yourself. Maybe, you know, it's not just players, I think, get opportunities. We don't talk enough, I think, about the coaches getting said opportunities with extra leagues. I mean, another example, Pat Hamilton, who gets talked to about this day about getting that extra shot with the Defenders. And now he's been talked as a very highly regarded, you know, coordinator, and some people think he should have a job as a head coach. I mean, how do you feel about that system just giving your coaches, I mean, your assistants as well, more opportunities to maybe go elsewhere and not just be stuck in certain avenues or not have avenues?
Yeah, so I'm really glad you said something about Pep. I know Pep. I worked with him in Cleveland in 2016. He's incredible. Incredible football mind, very, very intelligent person, very smart, or very, very good person. And in my opinion, he should be a head coach in the NFL. Not only a coordinator, he should be a head coach. And
you're not the only one then.
yeah. And it's a shame. It's honestly a shame that he has not been able to, that he's not looked upon as one of these candidates that's getting a head coaching job that has no head coaching experience in the NFL. I mean, you look at guys that have the guy in Denver right now, the guy in Green Bay, Cincinnati, Miami. All those guys never had head coaching experiences before. And what was their track record before? I mean, I know that Hackett worked with Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
What's his name up in was with McVay. And that's a lot of things. The guys were at McVay, but Pep tutored Andrew Luck. And in college and the NFL, like Andrew Luck, if he doesn't have the injuries that he has, he's potentially one of the best ever. Like,
yeah, we're still talking about him to this day if he doesn't have any of the issues injury-wise.
So I think it's a shame that Pep doesn't have a chance to be a head coach in the NFL, because he deserves it. I think he's incredible. But I think as far as the USFL and the spring leagues, I think it is. It's a developmental league. That's what the USFL is pushing. In my opinion, if you want to develop the players, develop the coaches. Like Pep was able to have a chance. I mean, shoot, I know the New Orleans job is open. I would like to get an interview for that job. I'm a young coach, and there are guys in the NFL, like I said, the guy in Green Bay, the guy in Cincinnati, the guy in Miami, the guy in Denver, that have had no head coaching experience but are given opportunities to be head coach in the NFL. If you're the USFL, you have a opening in one of your teams, and you have a young coordinator who, shoot, maybe you guys give me the chance to be the New Orleans head coach. Maybe in 5 years, I'm a Super Bowl winning head coach, and I can come back and be like, yeah, the USFL gave me the opportunity and developed me. And that's
Right.
what they say they want to be about as far as development. So, I mean, this is a perfect opportunity to show that you want to develop coaches as well as players.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, and I stress, I don't think that gets talked about enough. I know Pep gets talked plenty, of course. But I mean, I feel like that still is almost an under discussed topic about these leagues, because the players, obviously they're the focus, I think, primarily, but some of the coordinators, these, like yourself, you can show off your skills and maybe make it to the next level too. I mean, teams are evaluating and staffs are evaluating their talent needs on all phases. So, I think that that's also valid.
Mm-hmm.
Some people get, I think, also passed over too, that maybe, timing wasn't there.
Yeah.
You have an avenue right here.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's good points all around right there for yourself. Something with the defensive side. I kind of want to bring up this because I think you talk a little bit about the we're NFL-esque type of discussion in a way. I mean, you're a defense coordinator. You've seen some of just this past week. This will date this interview, but I don't care. Roughing the passer calls. Probably a contentious topic
Oh
for
my.
any defensive coordinator these days. How much more do you appreciate that the league gets to review personal foul calls?
I think that's great. And an interesting thing about that is my uncle, my dad's brother, was a NFL referee for I think about 20 years.
Fascinating.
His name is Buddy Horton. He was a back judge for about 20 years. So when there is questionable calls, or if I have a question about officiating, I'll always ask him because, like I said, and now he works for the league. I think he does development program for the NFL. Basically, he's recruiting college officials and USFL officials for the NFL. So he's
Okay.
still very involved in it. But I think the league being able to review penalties is awesome because there were a few times. There was one in our game against Philadelphia in week 2.
Okay.
Ladarius Wiley, a safety. I was with him at Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Trey Walker caught a ball across the middle, and Ladarius hit him shoulder to the chest. They threw a flag, and I remember I was sitting in the box. I'm like, that's a bad call. That was a clean hit. He just hit him hard, and I was like, that's not a penalty. And they reviewed it and they took it off, and I was like, that's awesome. Although it would have been beneficial to us, to our team, but at the same time, I don't want to like get the benefit of a bad call. I want the calls to be even. I want the calls to be right. I don't want to get the benefit of a bad call like Tampa Bay did against Atlanta. Would Atlanta have won that game? I don't know. Maybe they would have had a chance to at least possess the ball.
Exactly.
Would they have won? I don't know. Nobody knows. But they would have had a chance. That was a bad call. And no amount of justification from anybody can tell me that was not a terrible call. And that's the other thing too. That was Tom Brady at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You see other guys not getting that call. So, I mean, do they officiate quarterbacks differently depending on who they are? In my opinion, yes. In their opinion, probably not. But I mean, it's my opinion. So yeah, I think the roughing the passer calls are awful. The one in the Monday night game too with Chris Jones when he took the ball. I mean, like, I get player safety, but at the same time, you gotta let him play football because it's a violent game. It's a violent game with grown men playing that game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is violent.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to protect guys, but at the same time, like, you got to let them play because the one on Tom Brady was it was a joke, an absolute joke.
I as a Bears fan, I actually yelled. I yelled louder at that than I did losing to Minnesota because of how I felt. You have precedent type of things with, I think, officiating. That was one I'm like, if that's a precedent, that's a bad precedent.
Yeah.
That just opens a can of worms for, okay, what's roughing the passer?
Yeah.
If it's just a whip motion, well, there's a lot of roughing the passers that have been missed.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays you can't touch a quarterback. Like another one that was bad was, I think 2 weeks ago, it was Buffalo. I can't remember who they're playing. It might have been Cincinnati, and the DB kind of, I think they were running almost like a speed option or something like that. But Josh Allen was directly facing the DB, and the DB kind of gathered before he went and tackled him. And they didn't throw a flag until Josh Allen pointed at the official. And that's where the dangerous precedent comes in of these quarterbacks yelling at the officials to get a penalty, but then they want to run, fake slide, and keep running. Well, if you do that, then you're going to slide and get hit. And I'm not saying anything dirty at all, because I don't believe in anything dirty at 1,000%. I'm not saying that. But if you're going to run and fake slide, the next time you slide and I hit you, then you can't get mad because you're putting on tape that, oh, I might fake slide and go for 100 yards. And that's all on Sports Center. But it's kind of like the gamesmanship. If you are telling me you're going to slide, okay, I'll let you slide. If you're telling me you're going to go out of bounds, I'll let you go out of bounds. But the minute that you try to do something cute and fake slide or try to fake go out of bounds and get 3 extra yards, if you step out of bounds and I smoke you, that's on you. I might get a penalty, but that's on you, because you're, in my opinion, that's taking away from the gamesmanship of football. And I don't like that personally.
Yeah, I can understand. I just don't like gray area being, judgment calls are something that it feels more and more have become part of the game. And I get it. Game's getting faster. It's more aggressive and violent.
Yeah.
But I feel there's avenues to do that, which is actually, that's why I bring this up. Cause I felt last year, and I definitely want to hear your thoughts on at least this. Cause to me, the review speed was what was crucial to how this went down. It's the speed of the game has to, for fans, work if you're doing reviews. And I felt for the personal foul ones, just with the dedicated command center, that speed of how the calls were decided, I think that also modifies how I feel towards it. Because I was overly positive at the end of the season. I was decently excited or enthused about that rule going in. But when they execute it where it's quick turnarounds, that just made me say, okay, then let's just do this everywhere, because that justifies it if you can get a dedicated crew like that.
Yeah, I think it was awesome. And the games that we weren't involved in that I was watching on TV that had like the review checks, I think it was awesome, the transparency of Mike Pereira sitting there. He was like, all right, we're looking at this, explaining his decision-making, communicating back to the referee on the field. And it happened quickly. So I think that it's a great way to do it. And I think the other thing that was good about the way the USFL did it is it was Mike Pereira. It was all up to him. So it was consistent to him, where at least, okay, it's one person. It's not, well, this game's got this person, this game's got this person. It's one guy. And I think the NFL has enough resources you can have one guy that has all the TVs in one room and whatever. They have stuff like that already. But I think it was great. In my opinion, this, like you said, the speed of it, and just sometimes it's not easy to be an official. That's one of the hardest jobs. I'm not at all saying it's an easy job or anything like that. I mean, whatever, 8-10 years ago when they had the replacement officials, everyone saw how bad that was. That Seahawks and Green Bay game is not easy to be an official, because it's a fast game. Things happen like that. But to be able to have someone in a booth that with the all-seeing eye and make sure that, okay, no, this was not the correct call, or we missed this call and we can make the right call. I think that's awesome. It's kind of like in European football or worldwide football, aka soccer. It's like VAR, and VAR is sometimes awful, but sometimes it's good to have. Handball, I mean, I don't like the offsides to an inch or two, but I think that it is good to an extent, and that's kind of what the officiating Mike Pereira thing is like. It's kind of like VAR to me.
And I'm thinking for yourself and for the league. I mean, hopefully you're talking, his interpretation. So you can kind of go and maybe go back to your guys and say, all right, so this is how he's ruling it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can bend it a little. Don't go too crazy, but if it's ruling like this and it's not feeling like it's, say, the gamesmanship aspects being destroyed, it's all like it plays the strategy game is what I'm trying to get at. You're trying to,
for sure,
get the best out of your players, but also, use the rule set to your best advantage to put the best defense out there as possible.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So yeah, I good points there, honestly. Jarren, I want to thank you for joining me again. Much appreciated for the time. Looking forward to seeing what the Maulers are going to be capable of this year. Before we go, and I just want to touch on this because it's recent day of news, the USFL is partnering with Hub Football, the Don Yee led football developmental camp program. Basically going to be sharing scouting data. They're going to be essentially working hand in hand with the USFL. Going to be a great player pipeline, it sounds like. I mean, for yourself, how's it been? How much have you learned about this partnership so far behind the scenes before this announcement was official?
Yeah, I haven't really heard anything about it until today. Okay. I think that it will be beneficial for the league. It's another partnership to kind of get more information on players, because right now our GM Lonnie is working his tail off trying to find prospects and this, that, and the other thing. But I think with this, I'm assuming we'll have some sort of database that has by position, by their information, their contact information, their agent information, so that we can kind of get a hold of those guys. Like, okay, we're looking for a tackle. Here's a list of 15 tackles with their measurables, where they went to school, where they played, if they played in any spring leagues and any European football, if they played in the NFL at all, camps, this, that, and other thing, agent, phone number, all that, injuries. I think it'll just make things, I guess, more streamlined as far as signing players and having a database of guys that the league can kind of work from, instead of kind of just trying to pick and choose from here, from finding guys on Twitter that are hitting you up and stuff like that.
Right. Well, I'm definitely excited to dig more into this then. And I think for yourselves, I mean, Hub's been, for many of those that are enthusiasts, it's been very much a well-recognized positive organization that's bringing change and, spotlight the players. So looking forward to seeing who they bring. And honestly, you bring the European portion of it up. That's one thing that I think they've done a great job highlighting is, foreign players, foreign people to come in that, maybe you don't get a look because you're outside of the States, but, a lot of people don't realize all the leagues that are outside of the US and Canada that have some high quality guys that can maybe make the next step.
Yeah. I got a buddy, Mark Mattioli, I was with at Vanderbilt. He's over in Europe now. He was the head coach of the Parma Panthers in Italy for a few years. And his first season there, he took the team to the championship and won the championship there. I believe he just signed to be the head coach of a team in Paris. I want to say it's a new team, I believe, in the Europe. I'm not positive about all the specifics, but
sure,
he just signed on to be the head coach there. And like you said, they have talent over there. And being in college, we recruited internationally a little bit, but it can be tough to try to get those guys over here based on age and just what is the talent level. I think the USFL, partnered with the Hub, can be a great avenue for those guys to come over here, play American football in America with American rules, to now, if they want to take that step to the NFL, if they have the talent and the ability to do so, I think that can be an awesome avenue for those international players.
Absolutely. I think so too. I'm excited to see what all comes out for this, and excited for you guys and every other team in the USFL. It's just for you, you want the best guys.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, not just best, but better, of the best of the best. That's what you're doing. Jarren, thank you very much for joining me. Wishing you the best, yourself, your staff, Kirby Wilson and co. with the Maulers, the best for 2023 and beyond. Looking forward to seeing the season kick off later this upcoming spring.
Appreciate that. Thank you.